Between 1942 and 1945, the U.S. Navy deployed 168 airships to protect the Atlantic coast. They flew over 550,000 hours on patrol, and in all that time, not a single merchant ship under Blimp escort was lost to U-boat attack. Not one. This is the story of America's secret weapon, the slow, unglamorous airships that won the Battle of the Atlantic while everyone was watching the aircraft carriers. Let's go back to 1942. Germany is winning the Battle of the Atlantic. Admiral Karl Dönitz has 300 U-boats prowling the shipping lanes. His strategy is simple: sink merchant ships faster than the Allies can build them. And it's working. In the first 6 months of 1942, U-boats sink 585 Allied ships off the American coast. 3 million tons of shipping, oil tankers, cargo vessels, troop transports. The British call it the Second Happy Time, because German U-boat crews are having a field day. American cities go dark at night, not because of blackout regulations, because there's no oil to generate electricity. U-boats are sinking tankers within sight of Miami, New York, and Norfolk. The U.S. Navy has a problem. They don't have enough destroyers to escort every convoy. Destroyer escorts take 2 years to build. Surface ships are also slow. A destroyer can patrol maybe 200 square miles of ocean per day. What they need is something that can stay airborne for 12 hours or more, cover huge areas of ocean, spot submarines on the surface, force U-boats to submerge. Aircraft can do this, but planes can only stay up for a few hours before needing to refuel. Then someone remembers, we have airships. The U.S. Navy had been experimenting with blimps since World War I. Not rigid airships like the Hindenburg, these were non-rigid blimps, essentially giant balloons with a control car hanging underneath. In 1942, the Navy had about a dozen operational blimps. They were used for training and coastal patrol, but someone at the Office of Naval Operations realizes these things are perfect for anti-submarine warfare. Here's why. A blimp can stay airborne for 24 hours. Some missions lasted over 30 hours. It can fly at 50 miles per hour and cover 1,200 square miles of ocean per patrol. It can hover, dead stop, right over a suspected submarine contact. It's quiet. U-boats on the surface often didn't hear them coming, and most importantly, it's filled with helium. You can shoot at it all day and it won't explode. The Navy orders an immediate expansion. Build as many blimps as possible. Goodyear Aircraft Corporation gets the contract. They start mass producing K-class blimps, 252 feet long, filled with 425,000 cubic feet of helium. Crew of 10, armed with depth charges, machine guns, and later magnetic anomaly detectors. By 1943, the Navy has over 100 blimps operating from bases in Massachusetts, New Jersey, Florida, Louisiana, California, and Brazil. Their mission: find U-boats, force them underwater, keep them there until surface ships arrive, and it works better than anyone expected. So how does a blimp hunt a submarine? The first method is visual. Blimps fly low and slow between 500 and 2,000 feet. Crew members scan the water with binoculars. A U-boat on the surface is visible from miles away. A periscope creates a wake. Oil slicks, debris, disturbed water. Trained observers can spot all of it. When they find something suspicious, the blimp drops down to investigate. U-boats in 1942 have to surface to recharge batteries. They need to run their diesel engines. That means they're vulnerable for hours at a time. If a blimp spots a surfaced U-boat, it sends a radio signal. Surface ships converge on the position, but here's the key. The blimp doesn't leave. It circles overhead, watches, waits. If the U-boat tries a dive, the blimp marks the position with smoke markers or sonobuoys. If the U-boat stays on the surface and tries to outrun the blimp follows. U-boats can only do 17 knots on the surface. Blimps can match that. The U-boat commander has two choices: dive and lose battery charge, or stay surfaced and get caught by destroyers. Either way, the U-boat isn't attacking merchant ships. By 1943, the Navy equips blimps with magnetic anomaly detection (MAD) gear. This can detect the metal hull of a submarine underwater at close range. Blimps start using radar. They fly night patrols, they coordinate with destroyer escorts and aircraft, and the results are staggering. Here's the statistic that sounds too good to be true. Between 1942 and 1945, U.S. Navy blimps escorted 89,000 ships along the American coast. Not a single one was sunk by a U-boat while under blimp protection. Not one. In over 550,000 flight hours, across 3 years of the most intense submarine warfare in history, the record is perfect. Now, to be fair, this doesn't mean blimps were sinking U-boats left and right. Blimps only sank one confirmed U-boat. Possibly. The records are unclear, but that wasn't the point. The point was deterrence. U-boat commanders learned very quickly, if there's a blimp overhead, abort the attack. A U-boat's advantage is stealth. A blimp takes that away. Once spotted, a U-boat has to dive. That means burning battery power. That means aborting the patrol. That means going home early. German U-boat logs from 1943 and 1944 mention blimps constantly, forced to dive by enemy airship. Patrol aborted due to aerial surveillance. One U-boat commander wrote, "These airships are more dangerous than we anticipated. They appear silently and linger for hours." The psychological effect was huge. U-boats started avoiding areas where blimps patrolled. That meant they had to hunt farther from shore, where targets were scarcer and risks were higher. By 1944, the U-boat threat off the American coast was effectively neutralized, and a big part of that was blimps. Now let's go back to that battle. July 18th, 1943. 43. The K-74 blimp is on night patrol near the Florida Keys. At 7:40 a.m., radar picks up a contact. Lieutenant Nelson Grills, the commander, orders the crew to investigate. They descend through clouds, and there it is, U-134 on the surface, dead in the water. Grills makes a split-second decision. The submarine is vulnerable. He's going to attack. The K-74 drops to 250 feet and begins its attack run, but the Germans see them coming. The U-boat's deck gun opens fire. 20mm cannon, tracer rounds light up the dawn. The blimp's gunner fires back with a .50 caliber machine gun. At 300 yards, Grills orders release depth charges. 2 Mark 47 depth charges drop, but the U-boat is turning. The charges miss by 50 yards. The German gunfire is relentless. Rounds punch through the blimp's envelope. Helium starts escaping. Grills tries to gain altitude. The engines scream, but they're losing lift too fast. The K-74 hits the water. The impact throws crewmen around the gondola. The blimp's envelope collapses. They're in the water watching the U-boat circle back. For a moment, the crew thinks they're going to be machine-gunned in the water, but the U-boat commander, Hans-Jürgen Offermann, doesn't fire. He surfaces briefly, looks at the survivors, and then dives. U-134 disappears. The K-74 crew floats in the Atlantic for 19 hours before being rescued by a patrol boat. 1 crewman drowns. The rest survive, and here's the kicker. U-134 was so badly damaged in the attack that she had to abort her patrol and return to base. The blimp lost. But the blimp also won. So why did blimps work so well when so many other anti-submarine weapons failed? First, endurance. A K-class blimp could stay on station for over 24 hours. A patrol plane had maybe 4 to 6 hours before it needed to refuel. That meant continuous coverage. U-boats couldn't just wait for the patrol to pass. Second, low speed was actually an advantage, but blimps flew at 35 to 50 miles per hour. That's slow enough to spot things patrol planes would miss. A periscope wake, an oil slick, debris. Blimps crews had time to investigate every anomaly. Third, hovering capability. If a blimp spotted something suspicious, it could stop and hold position. Try doing that in an airplane. Fourth, crew comfort. This sounds minor, but it's huge. A blimp crew could stand, move around, eat hot meals, and rest in shifts. That meant they were alert for longer. Fatigue kills more patrols than enemy action. Fifth, psychological warfare. U-boats operated on tight margins. Every minute spent submerged was battery power wasted. Every aborted attack was a failed mission. Blimps didn't have to sink U-boats, they just had to be there. And finally, cost. A blimp cost about $300,000 to build. A destroyer escort cost $6 million. For the price of one destroyer, you could build the 20 blimps. The math was simple. Blimps were the most cost-effective anti-submarine weapon in the war. So if blimps were so successful, why doesn't anyone remember them? Because the Navy wanted to forget. In 1945, World War II ends. The Navy has 168 blimps in service. They've proven themselves in combat. They have a perfect escort record. By 1947, almost all of them are scrapped. Why? Politics and pride. The Navy brass never liked airships. They were seen as unglamorous, slow, defensive. Real naval power was aircraft carriers, battleships, and submarines. That's where the funding went. That's where careers were made. Blimps were useful during the war, but after the war, they were an embarrassment. The Navy wanted to be seen as a modern, jet-powered force, not a bunch of guys flying balloons. So they buried the blimp program, decommissioned the bases, transferred the crews, destroyed the records. By 1960, the U.S. Navy had exactly 0 operational airships. The institutional knowledge was gone. The success stories were forgotten, and that's why nobody knows about the blimps that won the Battle of the Atlantic. It wasn't sexy, it wasn't glamorous, it was just effective. And the Navy couldn't stand that. Today, the U.S. military has no combat airships. The Goodyear blimp still flies. Corporate advertising, sporting events, but the Navy's fleet of U-boat hunters, gone. Only one K-class blimp survives, K-43. She's in a museum in Maryland, slowly deteriorating. The men who flew these missions are nearly all gone now. The youngest would be in their late 90s. And the story they could tell of flying 24-hour patrols in hurricanes, of hunting submarines from 500 feet, of protecting 89,000 ships without losing a single one. That story is fading. But here's what matters. For 3 years, when America needed them most, these slow, unglamorous airships did something no other weapon system could do. They made the Atlantic safe. They kept the supply lines open. They forced Hitler's U-boats to retreat. And they did it with a perfect record. In the end, the Battle of the Atlantic wasn't won by destroyers or aircraft carriers. It was won by merchant sailors who kept sailing, by convoy escorts who kept watch, by codebreakers who kept working, and by crews in slow-moving blimps who spent thousands of hours staring at empty ocean just so U-boats wouldn't dare surface. 168 airships, 550,000 flight hours, 89,000 ships protected, 0 losses. That's not just a record, that's a miracle, and almost nobody remembers